Hello there people, Antanos Sparaboom here, welcome to my channel. So in 2023 I became a judge for the Indie Ink Awards, which means I'll be reviewing the books of several of my fellow indie authors on this channel. Now some of these books aren't what I usually read, so I might not be completely familiar with all the tropes and genres, things like that, but I'll still try to be as fair and as honest as I can in this review. Also, I will obviously try my best to avoid spoilers so that you can also enjoy this book. Now for my first video, I will be reviewing 3 Men to Be by M.N. Bennett. Now this is an urban fantasy story set mostly in a school for magic, with a big romance subplot. What's cool about it is that it's written from the perspective of one of the teachers, Dorian, making it very different to the usual magic school story. I'll start off by saying that I really enjoyed this book. Especially as someone who has worked in the education sector myself, I found it really interesting to have a story written from the perspective of a teacher rather than one of the students. But what really caught my attention was the magic system. So essentially every spellcaster in this book has 4 base magics or roots, as well as 1 or more branches, which are more like specializations like teleportation and warding and telepathy, which really give casters their own identity. I think the romance was well written. Now this is the first time I've ever read a queer romance novel, but I think it was handled quite well, especially the tension between the protagonist Dorian and his lover Milo. Now I won't say too much more on that for fear of spoiling it, because the romance is the biggest part of the book, but I thought it was handled quite well. And another thing I really liked was the chat boxes on the page. So instead of just a wall of text when people are texting, you can actually see the dialogue boxes from one person and then the other person. And I'm not sure this is a staple of urban fantasy, but I thought it really helped make the story more than just a wall of text like most stories. Now, back to the magic system. My favorite part of the story was definitely the branches of the 2 main characters. So Dorian and Milo are a telepath and a clairvoyant respectively, which means that one of them reads minds and the other one reads futures. And the interplay between these 2 abilities made for some very interesting scenes. I think that was a very good choice of superpowers. Now, what I often see is that telepathy is a bit of an overpowered ability. If you think about, for example, Professor X in the X-Men, he can control pretty much everyone's mind. And I thought it was much more balanced the way it was written in this story. And that brings me to Dorian's class of students. So Bennett manages to balance one of the largest casts of characters I've read in quite a while, possibly since Game of Thrones. And even after the story ended, I can still remember most of the character names and their special abilities or branches. One odd choice which I found was that one of the main characters, Finn, who plays a pretty big role, he's already dead before the story even starts. And obviously we see him quite often through flashbacks, for instance, but I feel like it would have been better if he also appeared in 1 or 2 scenes before he had died, rather than just, after the fact. That brings me to the rating. I would personally give this book 4 stars, maybe even 4.5. Now, maybe if I was familiar with the genre, I would have given it 5 stars, but as of my first read through, I thought it was a solid 4 stars. That said, I really did enjoy it, and I would definitely recommend it to fans of magic schools and queer romance. Thank you so much for watching my first review, and remember to support the author by buying his book.